Ambassador Ixithera's seventh manipulator trembled as she read the single-page document for the 19th time. The words hadn't changed. They remained exactly as devastating as the first reading. The Terran Federation hereby withdraws its membership from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We wish you well. No explanation, no ultimatum, no demands, just nothing. The council chambers, which had once echoed with passionate debates involving 73 species, now felt cavernous. Half the seats sat empty. The Vexorians had left 3 cycles ago. The Prelians followed shortly after. Now, with humanity's quiet departure, the exodus had become a flood. This is absurd, High Counselor Zephyroon hissed, his crystalline form refracting harsh light across the chamber. The humans contributed barely 5% to our military forces. They were economically middling at best. Why does their departure matter? Ixthera didn't answer immediately. She couldn't. Because Zephyroon, like so many others, had never bothered to look beyond the obvious metrics. The truth was more complicated and infinitely more damning. She remembered the first time she'd met Ambassador Chen, 70 years ago when humanity had first joined the council. The woman had been unremarkable by most standards, short, elderly by human metrics, with kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled. During that initial session, the Cathari delegation had mocked the humans' proposal for a cultural exchange initiative. We are conquerors and scientists, Cathar Prime Speaker had sneered. What use have we for your poetry and music? Ambassador Chen had simply smiled. Perhaps none, but the offer stands. Over the decades, humanity had made 10,000 such offers. Small things, negligible things. A medical team here, agricultural expertise there, infrastructure consultation for developing worlds. They'd never asked for territory or resources in return. They'd simply helped. When the Yulari sun began its premature collapse, it wasn't the mighty Cathari fleets that responded. It was human engineers who worked 60-hour shifts for 14 months straight, constructing a solar stabilizer network that would buy the Yulari another 1,000 years. The humans had lost 47 people during that mission. The council had sent a formal acknowledgement. Nothing more. When the Trilaxian plague threatened to wipe out the entire outer rim, human doctors had volunteered to work in contaminated zones. 73 of them never came home. The council erected a small monument. Humanity never complained about its inadequacy. Ixthara pulled up her personal files, documents she'd compiled over decades of observation. The pattern was undeniable once you chose to see it. Humanity had trained over 2 million doctors, engineers, teachers, and specialists from other species, free of charge. They'd mediated 847 disputes between council members, preventing at least a dozen wars. Their entertainment, those useless stories and songs the Cathari had mocked, had become the cultural bedrock that connected disparate species across the galaxy. 3,000 worlds celebrated holidays inspired by human traditions. 12 languages had incorporated human words for concepts they'd never needed before. Compassion, compromise, hope. Madam Ambassador, a junior aide approached hesitantly. The Yulari delegation has just withdrawn their membership. Zephyroon's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. This is mass hysteria. We don't need the humans or anyone else who lacks the spine to remain. Ixthara finally turned to face the High Counselor. You still don't understand, do you? Understand what? Zephyroon demanded. Humanity wasn't the foundation of our military might or our economy, Ixthara said quietly. They were the foundation of our unity. They were the ones who remembered everyone's naming ceremonies and mourned everyone's dead. They were the ones who celebrated our victories as if they were their own, and helped shoulder our defeats without judgment. She gestured at the emptying chamber. Every species here joined the council because they believed in something greater than themselves. Humanity didn't just believe in that ideal. They lived it every single day in 10,000 small ways we never bothered to acknowledge. They were the proof that it was possible. Sentimental nonsense, Zephyroon spat. Is it? Ixthara pulled up a holographic display. In the 3 cycles since humans began withdrawing from council activities, we've seen a 37% increase in trade disputes. Border conflicts have tripled. The collaborative research initiatives humanity championed have collapsed. The cultural festivals they organized, attended by billions across the galaxy, have been canceled. Species are withdrawing into isolationism at an unprecedented rate. She magnified the display, showing economic projections. Within 5 years, the Council will be functionally dead. Within 10, we'll likely return to the fractured warfare of the pre-Council era, not because humanity took something when they left, but because they stopped giving. The chamber fell silent. In the distance, another delegation rose and began filing out. Can we convince them to return? Someone asked, their voice small and desperate. Ixthara thought of the countless slights, the dismissive comments, the thankless efforts. She thought of Ambassador Chen's successor, Ambassador Okonkwo, who'd spent 30 years advocating for reforms the Council had repeatedly rejected. Reforms that would have made the Council more equitable, more just, more worthy of the ideals it claimed to represent. She thought of the final Council session she'd attended before humanity's withdrawal. Ambassador Okonkwo had proposed humanitarian intervention to stop a genocide on a non-Council world. The measure had failed. Not enough strategic value, the Cathari had argued. Too costly, Zephyrin had agreed. Okonkwo had said nothing. He'd simply closed his files, stood, and walked out. At the time, Ixthara had thought it was just frustration. Now she understood. It had been the moment he'd realized the Council was beyond saving. No, Ixthara said finally. I don't think we can. Why not? Zephyrin demanded. Ixthara looked at him sadly. Because we never actually asked them to stay. Even now you want to know if we can convince them to return. Not because we miss them. Not because we're grateful for what they gave us. But because we've suddenly realized how much we need them. She began gathering her belongings. Humanity didn't leave because they were angry or because they wanted revenge. They left because they'd finally learned what we taught them, that their efforts were worthless to us. So they took their compassion, their cooperation, and their hope, and they went home. Ixthara walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the near-empty chamber. Behind her, another species delegation stood to leave. Then another. The Galactic Council would survive, technically. Some species would remain, bound by treaties and economics. But the dream of a united galaxy, the vision of different peoples working together toward common good, was dying. Humanity had withdrawn quietly without fanfare or fury, and in doing so they'd revealed the terrible truth. They'd been the only ones who'd truly believed.